Hello, hello.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm great. 1 second. Can you hear me now?
Can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah. Too difficult to operate all of these devices. So how are you doing?
Very good, very good. Very busy leading up to the holiday season and Christmas and all that.
I understand you are currently picking up your new gold rose plated Lamborghini, right? Custom made.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. Haven't seen it yet, but I am indeed in the desert.
So it's great to be here this week. It's been an exciting week. We have a lot to talk about. So, judging by the amount of people in this space, as probably many of them noticed, we had this event of sudden increase of market cap value, also known as pump.
Yeah. Which seems to be becoming a theme in crypto across the board, which is very nice to see.
I totally agree. And, as Satoshi Nakamoto famously said, never let a good pump go to waste.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember actually him saying that. I think it was at the table.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, indeed, we did kind of exactly that. So we did a lot of interesting things. And first of all, one of the greatest kind of advantages of Beam as a project is that when it comes, the attention suddenly, is increased. We're ready because we have great technology, we have great products, and it works very well.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to kind of show the value of what we've done over the almost 5 years, by the way, next month.
Indeed.
And what we try to do this week is to use this attention for good. And we did some very interesting developments that I just want to start with kind of covering. And the first thing I would like to kind of mention is the new version of the wallet, of the desktop wallet that we have just released as an early preview earlier today, a couple of hours ago. And I mean, I really love it because we did solve some of the important issues that were long time kind of coming. So one of them was the synchronization of like new wallet when a new user comes and creates a new wallet. Previously, in the previous versions and even in the current version that is still on the website, you needed to wait for the blockchain to synchronize before you could do anything unless you selected a remote node, but that was not the default. So most people didn't do that, and it was very annoying. So what we've done is we have created this seamless process that synchronizes the node in the background while instantly allowing you to send funds, receive funds, or like activate applications and all that. So it's very, very nice, makes the whole experience so much better. And we have also added support for multiple seeds, which, like, especially for power users that have several seeds or several accounts, is very convenient. Also, you don't need to install another wallet if you just want to play with latest features on the DAppNet, which is our testnet version. So we kind of rebuilt the entire experience of logging into the wallet, synchronizing the blockchain, which is great, and it works really well. We have also moved the applications to the main page because right now the DeFi applications that we have are, I think, one of the most used features of the wallet, whether it's the DAGs, whether it's the asset minter, and all the others. So instead of going to this dApp store button, and we moved it to the main page, which is very kind of good for the user experience, I think. And a lot of additional fixes. So if you are, interested, just go find this link. It's in the Twitter and also in the community, I think, on Telegram. So you can just download this 7.5 release candidate that we have published. And just in case, since it's still a testing version, do back up your wallets so you don't lose anything by accident. but at least for me, it worked pretty well. And obviously, any issues that you find, please report them to us because we are, still in the process of fixing it, and it will be officially released towards our birthday, which is January 3rd next year. So this is like the first update that I'm really excited about because of improvements and looks much better.
Yeah, this would be the biggest, I'd say, revamp of the wallet since launch, right? Probably.
Yeah. So in terms of updating the UI, we have been just adding buttons to this left bar that we had until it just ran out of space because we had too many features. And now we have completely reorganized it and put everything in hopefully better location, but it's for you to judge. So please provide your feedback. It's very welcome, whether positive or negative. So it's all good. The other important thing that we have done is the launch of the wrapped beam on Ethereum.
Yeah.
So this is more of a kind of trading feature, I would say. So for people who like to trade Beam, because obviously on Ethereum, you don't have privacy. So moving the Beam that you have across the bridge to Ethereum does not make you private, but it does provide you with a lot more interesting possibilities to buy it or to sell it or to provide liquidity to the Uniswap pairs or whatever. So basically, it kind of increases the reach of the token. And the bridges are also live. We have just published the guide on how to use them. It takes about 1 hour for the bridging process to be done. So and since fees are relatively high on Ethereum, so expect it to cost a lot. But we are also working, and this is something that we're just announcing now on the similar bridges to Polygon, which, as we know, is much cheaper and much more accessible.
Yeah, and lately we've, at least I've seen a little bit of this like coming into discussions here and there, as it always does, of course, about like Ethereum being incredibly expensive. So it will be cool to see on a cheaper place, but also have the benefits of gaining more exposure. Love that people can trade Beam on Ethereum.
Yeah, it's very nice. So yeah, I mean, the fees on Ethereum are crazy, but also like probably the amount of activity and liquidity is also impressive. And Polygon, in my opinion, is also a very good option, which is much more affordable. So both of them, like one is the Ethereum one is live already, and you can try it, or you can wait for the Polygon one, which is coming probably in a couple of next weeks. So it's a bridge. It's a centralized bridge. So be careful with the amounts that you're using, and bridges are always try to make as safe as possible. But a bridge is a bridge. No way around it.
Yeah.
So that is not all. We also had a very nice website upgrade done by our favorite Magic Potato, who built the website in the first place. So he did a lot of work improving both the performance and adding the roadmap, which was also updated. And the site is much faster now. So the website is really beautiful. So yeah, thank you very much, Magic Potato, for that, and impressive work, and it looks amazing. In addition to that, we got a lot of interest, questions, discussions, amazing amount of activity from everyone in the team and in the community. The community did an amazing job supporting all of the new people who just learned about Beam because of this pump, answering the questions, providing references. Really amazing job. So, it was great because it was really like ton of requests and questions that were asked and answered. We also got some AMA suggestions that we will probably implement like the next week or next couple of weeks. So it's been amazing all this week. So one of the things that kind of not exactly started this pump, but was in I would say as in the basis of this pump was this kind of discovery of the fact that Guy Corem was involved both in Beam and in Kaspa.
Yeah, I remember years back, 2 years or maybe even 3, Guy mentioning Kaspa and saying that I should mine it. And I remember it more and more every day.
Yeah, so indeed, and it's a kind of an interesting point. He was the person who actually brought me on board to Beam, so we worked together many years ago in some company, and we remained kind of in touch since then. And when Beam got started, he kind of we talked, and that's how I became involved in this entire crypto rabbit hole. So from the very beginning, he dreamed about this perfect kind of coin, the perfect blockchain, which would be private by default, which is like one of the key, cornerstone features that Guy Corem sees in every crypto is privacy, but also scalable, right? And it just so happened that these two projects, Beam and Kaspa, took on kind of two different axes of this equation, right? So one became very private and the other one became very scalable.
Yeah.
And for both projects, the road was very different and very strange and very thorny, with a lot of twists and different adventures, as you know. Since both of these technologies are very kind of close and familiar to Guy, he always wanted to combine them in some way. And for those who have been here with Beam for the last couple of years, probably heard not once all kinds of ideas of combining the DAG-based consensus into Beam. And now that this pump happened and this topic kind of arose again, so there were a lot of questions of how is it possible, or whether is it possible, or are we going to do it? And it does appear on our roadmap. And I would like to talk about that for a few minutes, just to clarify this situation and to kind of explain what it means for us and in general.
Perfect.
Yeah. So as you know, the regular kind of blockchain that Beam uses, it builds one block on top of the other, just like Bitcoin and most others, while DAG-based blockchains work a little bit differently. There are several branches that coexist at the same time, hence this DAG, which is Direct Acyclic Graph that it forms. And then they are merged at some point into kind of one history that becomes the consensus. But while these branches coexist, they increase the overall capacity of the blockchain, because you have, like, instead of one block per like minute in case of Beam, you have kind of multiple blocks that are closed at the same time, and then they are reorganized into a single history. So while, and by the way, this algorithm and this kind of research was originally built by Jonathan Sopolinsky, who is the founder of Kaspa. He is the scientist who invented this approach, and they perfected it over the years. So there were several different versions with improvements. The first one, I think, was called the Ghost DAG. Now it's called DAG Knight, so which is also the next generation of this algorithm. And one of the problems, or like one of the things that will probably not be easy to achieve, is to make this approach work with smart contracts that we currently have on Beam. So while we're only talking about value transfer and regular transactions, Obviously, this approach works because Kaspa works, and that's exactly what they did. But since in Beam, we have added a lot of extensions on top of the regular Mimblewimble-based blockchain. And I think one of the most important features right now that are mostly used are smart contracts and the virtual machine that enables them. So making both of these approaches work together will not be trivial, to say the least. The second point is that right now we're using an kind of a protocol that's called Fly Client, which was invented by Benedict Bunz, the same cryptographer who also invented bulletproofs. And they allow us to have very fast syncing times for the blockchain, especially if you're using a mobile wallet or something with relatively limited resources. It's a very effective way to verify the large ranges of blocks, and we're using that. So that's also something that will probably need to be adjusted. Having said that, it's always possible to have some kind of hybrid approach, which will mean that the smart contracts will still work using the regular consensus, and then the value transfer transactions will be faster using like DAG approach. But once again, it's a lot of work, and an additional important consideration is that Beam was originally, like when we just launched it, there was a very explicit specification of the emission schedule.
Yeah.
And all of the original investors and the early adopters and holders of Beam, they are all aligned with this kind of important parameter that should not be changed lightly, obviously. So all of these things, what I'm trying to say is that, first of all, yes, while this approach is possible and we are intending to kind of investigate it further, it's a relatively major thing, right? It definitely will require a lot of technical work, but also it will require a lot of community and DAO and kind of being involved in this decision making, because changing such a major part of the consensus is obviously going to be have a great impact on the entire protocol.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But one of the things that obviously kind of I think was mentioned a lot is the impressive success of Kaspa during the recent year or so, right?
It's I mean, I didn't heed Guy's advice and mine Casper, and I've watched it go up every day since, I think. It's a very interesting and nice chart, that's for sure.
It's probably why. If you would have,
yeah. Absolutely.
So we did get a lot of questions about Beam in general and Beam technology, and it's funny because, as you know, recently another project has also used the same name as Beam.
I saw that, yeah.
And a lot of funny things started happening. And I mean, there are regular funny things like people buying the wrong tokens, thinking it's one project while actually it's the other one. But even funnier is the recent kind of onslaught of articles that are produced by AI, ChatGPT style. And then it was like the new privacy-oriented gaming token called this and that was listed here and there. So yeah, I mean, it's been crazy, and the confusion is enormous. It's really very difficult. Listen, no, it's a BeamX, but it's not the correct BeamX. That BeamX only exists on Beam chain, and it's a governance token, while that BeamX is listed on Binance, and it's actually something else entirely. So one of the, I think, most kind of asked question is like, what's the relation between the two projects? And the answer is there is absolutely zero relation between these two projects. The Merit Circle Beam, BeamX, which is the gaming platform, and Beam Privacy, which is our Beam, which is almost 5 years old. And as a result of this confusion, there were a lot of questions about possible rebranding of Beam. And the funny thing is that we've been talking about rebranding of Beam for the last year or so, regardless of the other Beam's existence. In general, it's like every once in a while, you want to change something, you want to make something newer. But back in the day when we have discussed it, we talked about changing maybe the logo, the color scheme, a lot of things, but somehow the name Beam always remained as kind of, no, we will keep Beam, we like it. But it's a good question. I mean, a lot of people argued that the pragmatic thing to do would be to rebrand in this situation. I argued that they should go to hell because we've been here first and we like this name and we like the project. But it's a good question and it's an open question, obviously, like everything is. So I think if anyone wants to suggest something like that, you're welcome. And obviously, it will be discussed on the forum and we can vote on it. So everything is open. I personally really like the name, but I'm not objective. I've been attached to it for the last 5 years. And but there are also other considerations such as marketing. And indeed, if both of these projects continue to coexist, this confusion will only grow. So, what do you think?
For sure. I mean, I love the name, and I know you do too, but I do think that like we obviously have a very kind of I want to say big investment, not like a big attachment to it, I guess. So it's interesting to hear what other people say that are either new to the community or community members that have been around for a long time. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's always kind of an interesting discussion to have, regardless.
Yeah. So Galaxy asks in the community channel whether we're planning on listing BeamX on centralized exchanges, and it's a great question because, first of all, I mean, we don't have anything against it. We don't have right now the funds to afford those listings, which have been relatively expensive. But we will be having a big problem. I mean, we're not going to Binance, so I'm not worried about Binance. But even if we go to smaller exchanges and they already have BeamX token listed, we will have an issue, that's for sure. And also, if we want, and we do want to wrap BeamX in addition to Beam, because, and by the way, like a lot of new people here maybe don't know the history of BeamX token, but the idea of BeamX token is to be the governance token of the entire Beam ecosystem of applications. And the holders of the token, they participate both in the decision making by voting in the Beam vote, which happens on chain every once in a while, but also in governing the ecosystem of applications that were developed by Beam team or with assistance of the BeamX DAO. And today, most of the applications are of this variety, and all of them contribute fees into the DAO vault, which is then controlled by the DAO. So the BeamX has a very important role, and in terms of kind of the relation to Beam. So Beam is like currency and BeamX is like stock, right? It's like your voting power in the ecosystem. And that's why even though the BeamX is heavily underutilized today in terms of what it should be able to do, and we did talk about this and we will continue to talk about it and try to improve it. So right now it's mostly kind of used in voting every once in a while, but it's still relatively not used enough for many things that it can be used for. But I mean, in terms of the roadmap, in terms of our intentions, yes, definitely BeamX should have had a listings and other things. So yeah, I mean, this will be definitely an issue when we come to list BeamX because it's going to be a problem.
For sure.
Yeah. Yes. Who somebody wants to talk? Is it Dirty Rusky?
Dirty Rusky, yeah. I was just testing my multitasking abilities. That's why I went a bit silent, because they're very poor.
Yep. How are you
Dirty
guys?
Rusky, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys? A lot of exciting things are circulating around Beam, and I did want to two things about the rebrand thing. I think it's silly. It's you only need to rebrand as if you got something to hide or something happened, or I don't think Beam needs any of that. There's nothing to hide. If anything, Beam has everything to be proud of. Second thing, I really, really, really think that the implementation or Beam's implementation of DAG protocol, uh, it would it actually I think it will help Beam a lot right now, because there's so much FOMO going around Kaspa and how they have managed to do blocks per second versus seconds per blocks, and just think of like privacy by default currency, that okay, so if exchanges require you know 2,000 confirmations, that's like in 20 minutes, 10 minutes tops. So it's just like everybody wants that POW speed. Like nobody wants that appeal. Like everybody's offering these scalable solutions, but they're all secured with proof of stake. And I think being not only a smart contract, private by default ecosystem, but now adding the whole block DAG tech to the ecosystem would really give it a huge boost. Just to give you an example, there's a fork of Kaspa that just came out about I want to say 2 weeks ago. It has hit $30 million market cap today in 2 weeks, because everybody want that next fast thing that's secured with POW. And I think Beam focusing on implementing such tech would really help out a lot.
So first of all, thank you for the input. It's great. Vladi here joined us and is taking notes. And I'm sure that Guy Corem, wherever he is currently, he's jumping from joy, because that was kind of his ultimate dream of combining these two technologies. So yeah, I mean, I totally agree. And I really like the fact that it, as you said, unlike proof of stake, because you can always do a Solana. I just said it in the community today. I mean, yeah, you can take several nodes and call them decentralized, but that's not what Kaspa is doing. And I really like the fact that it's still proof of work based, and it's kind of gaining this scalability without giving up on the fundamentals, which is awesome. So yeah, I totally agree with everything you said, and we will definitely look into that. And also thank you for the support regarding the name. Yeah, we definitely have nothing to hide, so it's more of a marketing thing. But thanks a lot. Thanks for the input. Yeah, so I believe that these discussions will continue for a while. I mean, until we reach some kind of conclusions on all of these things. It's interesting. Like, I mean, it was a little bit, I would say, not sudden, but like, this connection and how it influenced the narrative around this combination of these technologies. Because we did talk about it, but once again, when you have limited resources and you need to choose one direction over the other, we chose to build the EVM compatible like virtual machine to live alongside the existing BVM, the Beam virtual machine, and provide the ability to run smart contracts written for the Ethereum ecosystem or Solidity and EVM-based ecosystem. I mean, it was a choice that we had to make, because we couldn't kind of realistically build both direction of scalability and also.
I think that was a good choice, because if you think about it, Guy he opened up that door for you to where you got this little side project going on. Let's see if it takes off. Boom, Kaspa is like what, number 2, 3 top POW now. So the project is working. You guys focused on a different aspect of it. I think it's time to put it all together.
Yeah, so sounds like a good idea. So yeah, so once we complete the next hard fork, and depending on the resources that we have, maybe even before, we can focus and think about that. Before I move on, do we have any other questions? The government, yes. I will get to this question from Galaxy in a second. Let's see if we have something else. About Beam technology, something you wanted to ask before I move to the other topic?
Oh, I did have somebody ask me, so when the EVM is going to be implemented, I think, I don't remember if I recall it correctly, it was either you, someone mentioned that you should be able to run EVM applications natively. Is that correct? Am I misunderstanding something? Like, is it going to be private also or not private? Like, how is that actually going to function?
Okay, so right now in Beam, the way the smart contracts work is that the values that you store in the contract, they are not private, so you can see the value, but you cannot see who owns it or who put it there or who is operating on it. So that's the current situation. And in the last space, we talked about together with Alexander Zederson how it's exactly the opposite of what Secret Network is doing, where they have Cosmos, which is an open and non-private, like public blockchain, but the values inside the smart contracts running in the secure enclave, so they're private. So we're exactly the opposite of that, right? So when we add the EVM, we actually add just an additional instruction set and the interpreter for it, right? So currently, the smart contracts that you can write on Beam, they're implemented in C++, let's say, and then compiled into WebAssembly. And the Beam virtual machine knows how to run WebAssembly instruction set. And that's how you can build Turing-complete smart contracts, which can do exactly the same in terms of functionality as any smart contract you can write on Ethereum. But since you write it in C++, it's usually more compact. By the way, when you look at the different implementations of the same thing on Beam and on Ethereum, for example, if you take a look at the code of Nifrit and compare it to Liquidity, it was kind of ideologically based upon, you will see that the code on Beam is much more compact and much cleaner than Solidity for many reasons, but it's a different application. So because there is a huge popularity of Solidity and there are a lot of tools and a lot of developers, basically what will happen is that you will be able to take an existing application written in Solidity, and the idea is that you will be able to deploy it on Beam exactly as you would deploy it on any EVM compatible blockchain without changing anything. That's the goal. That's the dream. What will happen in the background is that in terms of privacy, all of the privacy components that are working today with the Beam virtual machine will continue to exist exactly the same. So nobody will be able to trace who is the person sending the transaction, right? But the values will remain visible. Yes, go ahead. Somebody just asked to speak, I think.
Monero.
Yeah, go ahead.
Accepted your request.
You can
Sorry,
unmute.
I didn't mean to do that. Hello.
No
Fine.
problem at all. We forgive
okay.
you.
Hello. Thank you.
Welcome.
So moving back to the point. So I hope it answers the question from Dostoevsky.
Yes, yeah, it does actually. I had somebody from ETC community ask me this. So you're saying that if I build a dApp on EVM and let's say I try to use it on Beam blockchain, you're saying it will preserve all the privacy features of the blockchain, but
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Because the privacy, like the lack of privacy on Ethereum, is not related directly to the code that you're running. It's related to how the blockchain itself is structured, and that you have this account-based model in which all of the values that you store in those accounts are visible. In Beam case, we use this hybrid model, which starts as UTXO based, and on that level, it's all encrypted using this Mimblewimble approach. But when we are moving into smart contract territory, what happens is that we are using this it's called the transaction kernels, which are extended with additional information. And then when the node receives this special type of transaction, it knows to delegate it to the right kind of smart contract running on the blockchain.
Will there be the need to port any of these like EVM dApps or anything like that? Or can I will it be something as simple? Okay, so I want to trade privately. So I take my Ether, I move it from to Beam blockchain through the bridge, and now I can just start using the dApps, EVM dApps, or will there be some sort of a migration or porting process to where it has to go through before it can work on Beam? Or
no. So the truth is, first of all, you can do it today because we have the bridge from Ethereum to Beam, where you can move, if I'm not mistaken, Ethereum, USDT, wrapped Bitcoin, and probably some other token. So you can take your Ethereum or USDT today and move them on Beam and trade on BeamDAGs. The BeamDAGs is an application which is implemented in C++ and is running on Beam virtual machine. Now, if you want to use or deploy Uniswap or any other existing application on Ethereum, you cannot do it because obviously we don't support Solidity. But once the EVM is enabled, then you will be able to just take exactly the same code that you're running on Ethereum and deploy it on Beam, and you will get the same application.
I think when that goes live, that will open up a brand new era for Beam, and then you add the speed with the DAG night. Yeah.
I mean, yes. So one of the problems that we have been always, for the last 5 years of our existing, struggling with is creating a community of developers, because Beam technology is very different in all aspects from what people are used to. It started with Mimblewimble, which was different because it required interactive transactions. So we couldn't easily integrate with any existing wallet because they all had this kind of template of creating a transaction, signing it to the blockchain. So all of these interactive things that needed to happen to create Mimblewimble transaction didn't allow us to fit into these templates, and we couldn't have been integrated easily. So that was their problem number one. Then when we have added Lelantus, we solved that. So now we have both interactive Mimblewimble and offline transactions, which is easier. But when we have created our virtual machine, once again, it was a decision between going with something that we could have built faster and it would have been better for us in terms of privacy and in terms of integration with the blockchain, but we had to train on create documentation from scratch, which we never did in the proper way, and also explain how to write these contracts. And today, writing a smart contract on Beam blockchain is a very difficult task with a steep learning curve. You have to use C++, you have to understand how it works. So it's difficult. So we believe that when we have this ability to run existing Solidity contracts, it will open us to a very large existing ecosystem of developers who would love to basically take their applications and run them on the blockchain with privacy, and it will definitely be amazing.
Yeah, it sounds exciting.
Yeah, so we're moving towards that goal as well. Okay, so obviously, if you have any additional questions about Beam technology, what we can do, we have, first of all, very active communities. We have on Telegram several communities. We have general community for those who want to talk about prices, going up and down or up and up. We have community for developers. So for miners, so we have a lot of ecosystem and community that will provide you support and answer questions on any topic. You can always write to me directly on Telegram, by the way, if you have anything that you want to discuss. I'm here more often than not. And obviously, we're active on Twitter and on Discord. So anything you want to ask, we're here for you. Okay, so I wanted to address this question that Galaxy asked about the ability to use BeamX to create proposals inside the wallet. So basically what we have today, and this is kind of more of, I would say, governance related topic. Today we have the forum, and on Beam forum, which is forum.beam.mw, you can create a proposal, which can be anything from adding features, changing things, up to changing the name of the entire project, its goal, its purpose, and whatever. And then this proposal is being discussed, and if this proposal is critical enough and needs kind of important enough to be put to on-chain vote, we have this voting application, which until today was used, I think, once. It's really rare. But as a result, when this vote goes on-chain, then you need to lock BeamX as a governance token, and you can vote on the proposal. So if I understand correctly, the question is, or the suggestion is to move parts of this process into the wallet, and then use BeamX to create proposals directly from the wallet. So, is it possible? Yes. Do we want it? Let's talk about it. Let's open a discussion in the old forum for now. And yeah, I mean, it can be done. Back in the day, we thought about doing it this way. But then we kind of decided that at least to get things started, we wanted kind of a more informal process in the beginning. We kind of didn't want to deal with the spam of like, if you remember, I think it was in an NFT gallery or somewhere. Like when you have this open system, even if you are locking BeamX or paying BeamX or whatever, one of the problems is the moderation, and it's Gus knows this very well. I think the moderation problems.
Indeed. I have also been on the trolling end of it on Snapshot, which has similar. I think Snapshot, if you have over, you can set the threshold kind of thing. If you have over X amount of tokens, you can make a proposal. And I've made some ones that have been deleted or wanted to be deleted.
Yeah, I see what you mean there. Yeah, so this was kind of the main issue that we were afraid of, and we didn't want to deal with. Obviously, even with the NFTs, it's a little bit problematic. But in our case, I mean, we're relatively small. There is no like real issue with that. But as we know from the blockchain world, everything that can be abused will be abused. I'm not against anything. I'm just saying that this is one of the concerns that we had back in the day, and that's why we didn't do it from the get-go. This direct deposition of proposals on chain. But it's solvable. We can have moderators. We can have people who are responsible for moderating proposals. I also have to say that we have a much more, I would say, organized community and people who are constantly active. So it's easier to manage that, to assign roles. For example, now that we don't have, we do have, but we don't even if the official moderators are not there, the communities are moderating amazingly, right? Because everybody already kind of knows what they're doing, and there are a lot of people who've been with us for many years with Beam, so it works. And yeah, so we can definitely try that. And just as any experiment, if we see that it doesn't work, we can always take it back as well. So it's completely fine. So let's discuss it.
By the way, I wanted to say that I checked out that preview wallet, and let me tell you, you guys did a phenomenal job. Like, all of my biggest pet peeves are just completely gone now. Like, everything is, I love how you can select multiple wallets. I love how everything is just like right there. You can select between applications, and you guys did an excellent job. I just want to.
Thank you very much. You don't know how happy I am to hear that, because I also like it very much. And it was funny because I upgraded to the intermediate version, and not all of the applications were working, and some of the things were not working. and I just couldn't go back to the previous version. I just waited until Anatoly fixed all the issues, and I never went back, because once I had this ability to switch between accounts and the new navigation, I agree, it's much more convenient, especially for users that have several seats.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I mean, it's a very well thought through design compared to what it was.
Thank you. It's great to hear, and obviously we will continue to improve it even further. Okay, so I think we don't have any official questions anymore, right? Or am I missing something? Do you see anything else, Gus?
I believe that we do not. Oh, there was one question about wrapping and unwrapping CAS, and I guess that is Kaspa, obviously. And I guess this is
That was actually
maybe.
my question.
Okay, nice. We can extend this to all stuff. Like, what is able to be wrapped on Beam and not able to be wrapped? Is there any like set criteria? I guess.
Well, I mean, honestly, that was before I even, considered that, the devs would start working on implementing the DAG, the DAG Night tech onto Beam.
Okay.
However, I mean, I think it would be a nice vessel, because I don't think that Kaspa currently has a privacy vessel at all. And, it would, in considering that the two projects are kind of like brothers in a way, it would be kind of cool thing to see.
Yeah, so this question is actually easy to answer because there are two approaches. The first one, let's call it, I call it centralized, but you can make it federated, you can run it like just like most bridges today. They usually use some mechanism of federation, or kind of moving towards decentralization in some way, starting from multisig, which is obviously the weakest one, and then going through all kinds of interesting intermediate consensus-based blockchains like RenBridge. So you can build a mechanism, and all this mechanism needs to do is to verify that the amount of tokens locked on one side is equal to the amount of tokens minted on the other side. So once you have this mechanism, whether you built it or adapted it or whatever, you can move anything on Beam, because Beam supports creation of confidential assets, and each asset is exactly as confidential as Beam itself. So neither the amount nor the sender or receiver, and not even the type of the asset is visible. So you can do it.
Nice. That,
Yeah.
As I was asking the question, I was thinking that. I have a follow up to the proposals thing. One issue beyond like the spam is like it's all very well coming up with a good proposal and that kind of stuff, but it's harder to come up with a proposal that can be easily implemented, especially when it's like on the tech side. I could make a proposal to make Beam block times half a second, but the practicality around it isn't there, obviously, and I have no idea how to make it happen. So this would be another kind of issue with proposals.
Well, I don't think it exactly works like that, but
this was just an example. This has nothing to do with.
We already know.
I should have used a different example.
Yeah, I mean, Gus, what you have described is the problem every product manager faces in the world. I'm sorry if I interrupted Doziraski, but he had some problems with the connection, to my defense.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of lag. There was very. Sorry,
yeah, maybe it's sorry, guys. No, it was nothing important. I was just talking about how like it would also speed up the whole private messenger thing. It would be a lot faster, because right now you got to wait for a confirmation before your message is sent. Or am I wrong?
No, the current messenger works with SDBS, which is not on chain, but But I agree that a lot of operations that do require settlement on chain will be faster. No, that's no argument here. But by the way, Gus, what you said is just a generic problem of any product manager. Like he wants to build something,
Yeah.
but he doesn't know how. Yeah, I mean, yes, obviously a proposal of just make Beam faster, please. Yes, that's not going to work. But having said that, it is interestingly important to raise these questions because, and we saw this many times during our time at Beam. When we're looking at the problem at some specific angle and we're getting focused on solving some specific thing, very often we do not see the bigger picture. Very often we're focused on a specific kind of approach or specific solution. And sometimes somebody comes and says, wait a second, why don't you do it like that? Or why don't you do this? And we're like, we didn't think about it. So that's why we always say, like people sometimes say, oh, maybe it's a stupid question, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. So there is no such thing as stupid questions. Like ask any questions because every question surfaces some thing that you want to know, you want to. And by the way, sometimes when we explain or when we talk about something, we understand it better, and sometimes we think, like why are we doing it like this? Let's do it differently. So please continue.
Yeah, for sure.
I did want to ask, whatever happened to Raise? I know it kind of like. I think with this whole forum thing, and I think it would be a good time to bring that back and maybe start rewarding people who are contributing with good. I don't know.
Yeah. So a short, brief history of Raise. Before we had this current forum, we had an idea of having a slightly different forum, which will be kind of integrated with the token, and we started implementing it. We did several versions. One of them was even integrated with GitHub as a backend and just provided the front end. It was a couple of years ago, and the idea of Raise was to have a community engagement token, and it never had any financial value attached to it. And it was back in the day where we didn't even have smart contracts. We only had confidential assets. So it could have been infinitely minted from one wallet controlled by Beam, but still, like it's not a very safe way to do it. Today, first of all, we have a much better mechanisms because we have smart contracts and we have the asset minter that you just can create a token which is limited in supply and you can trade it on DEX. So today we're much better equipped to handling these things. It's a good idea, but once again, it all boils down to implementation and kind of connecting between some existing application, the same subforum application, and then the reward mechanism in Beam. Because it's not possible to build everything inside Beam Wallet or as a dApp. It's just too much work, right? You want posts, you want discussions, you want comments, you want followers, like all that. And one of the challenges that we do think about, but we didn't have ever like the resources to actually tackle, is using Beam as infrastructure to provide these additional private services for existing platforms. One of these projects was actually even kind of in more advanced discussions. It didn't happen yet, maybe it will someday. But it was about integrating Beam as kind of the blockchain, the payment blockchain or settlement blockchain behind some existing online stores. So it's a very good direction, but it does require a lot of work, and we need to kind of either prioritize it or find someone who can do it, allocate bounty. But the idea is very solid and definitely interesting.
Yeah, I think a bounty would be cool.
So we do operate with bounties. Right now, I think the bounty that we have discussed, I think it was 2 weeks ago, last week we had an interview, but 2 weeks ago we talked about the updated Blockchain Explorer, because this is one of the things that still needs badly to be figured out and updated with the information from the smart contracts. And we already have a version of the Explorer that does that, but it's very technical and not very user-friendly. So we just require some web developer to take it and make it happen. So this is one of the I think, most immediate bounties that we discussed. Wow, time flies. Any more questions? Last questions, anyone? Before we wrap it up for today? No?
I do not see any in the chat, but my computer just died, so that's probably why.
Makes it more
But
difficult.
Yeah, I'm seeing my faint reflection in my black mirror. We did cover all of the ones that I saw prior to that, and very insightful on the tech side. A lot to consider and discuss, and some exciting things on the way.
Definitely. So just to kind of sum it up, and I mean, one of the things about Beam is like we're always kind of here doing almost the same thing, pump or no pump, for the last 5 years. And we will be celebrating these 5 years on January 3rd. And during the whole December, and especially around that date, we're going to have some interesting activities, let's say. We are developing an application called the gift card, and it will allow you, and obviously us, to create prizes and send kind of special coupon codes to people who win them. And we're going to use this app that we will build to do all kinds of challenges and interesting engagements. So stick around, and it will be fun. It will be a fun month. And obviously, we will continue doing what we're doing, and we'll see you next week.
Wicked. And one thing that just came to mind, the 5th birthday coincides with the 2nd Beam halving.
Yes, it does. Actually, I think because of the block time, the halving will happen a little bit after, like a day or so.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
so we will have 2 celebrations.
2 parties. Let's go.
You can't really miss Beam's birthday because it's on the same day as Bitcoin's birthday, is it not?
Exactly. Yes. Beam was launched on January 3rd, 2019, which was 10th anniversary of Bitcoin Genesis block. Yes. The sun was beautiful that time. I remember like it was yesterday. So yeah, before I start thank you everyone for coming. Please ask questions, talk to us, and have a great week, and we'll see you in the next space.
See you, Alex. Thank you. Cheers, guys.
Bye-bye.
See you, Rusty.